thank you so much for joining us. Today's session is on leveraging great content to launch advisory. Just before we get into the main bit, we're using Zoom today. We'd love for you to interact and ask questions as we go. There will be time at the end if you've got questions specifically you want to answer as we go. That's fine as well. We'll do our best to go after them. Craig, shall I let you introduce us? So it's a bit, is it funny for us to introduce ourselves for your clients?
Well, yeah, look, as I say, I think from an SBA perspective, we've been looking at ways in which we can broaden our service offerings and work with industry leaders to have that conversation starter with our clients and start to promote other value-added opportunities with them to help them grow their businesses, and especially at this incredibly trying time of the pandemic with lockdowns of varying degrees and different industries impacted in different ways. So obviously our group has had a couple of presentations from Charles from Boma before, the online marketing platform, which gives our branches access to a load of resources to be that conversation starter with the clients. And also with Natalie from the Gap. So we've had a lot of, well, I think there's at least about a half a dozen branches I know of that are working with the Gap and finding ways to utilize the templates and the tried and tested methods to interact with their clients and offer advisory services. So I think that the presentation today is really about taking the best of both worlds and bringing it together to support accountants to provide value to their customers and really use it to start the conversation, especially when it comes to advisory and consultative services.
Brilliant, thanks Craig. So look, let's get started. We'll take about 45 minutes. We know that you guys are obviously short on time, so this is the agenda. We're just sort of going to rattle through our slides. We also do, Nat will actually show you the Gap portal, which is fantastic. And we also start off with some of your pre-work, and then, as I said, some time for questions at the end. Before we get into that, though, as Craig alluded to, we obviously, some of you will have heard about Boma. Obviously, a lot have heard about Gap. And Boma and the Gap have actually partnered together for quite a long time. And sort of it's a combination of our digital marketing platform and with the Gap's kind of business advisory service content, and sort of put together. And there's actually an integration directly from the Gap portal into Boma, and in Boma you can sort of access the Gap content directly. The ability to really drive efficiency when it comes to across the practice when it comes to marketing, and maximize those client relationships. I think Nat, you once described the sort of combination of the two of us as a marketing campaign in a virtual box, which I've been shamelessly stealing and using because I think it's such a great sort of mental picture of how an accountant can use us. So your pre-work, so thank you so much for taking the time to do that. Really, really interesting to see where you guys, sort of how you place yourselves in terms of that activity. We thought because there are they're quite small numbers today, we didn't necessarily want to say, okay, well, based on these sort of 9 responses, this is kind of what's happening everywhere. So what we've done, we've actually taken some pre-work on exactly the same questions from a session we did about a month ago, and that actually had over 300 responses. So I thought quite good to benchmark. And obviously you know where you sit, you know what you answered, so quite good to benchmark it against those. So when we asked these sort of 350 odd accountants how many social posts are they doing a week, and there are a significant group, nearly 30%, who are not doing any social posts a week. And I know some of you today will fall in that camp. And obviously a large number who are just doing a couple a week. What I found interesting, and this is probably because of the larger or the very large sample size we had, there are a number who are doing more than 3. So nearly 30% are doing sort of 3, 4, 5, all the way up to sort of more than 10 posts a week. So obviously those might be slightly the outliers, but good to sort of think about in terms of how often you're posting to social. Are you there or thereabouts, or do you think there's maybe room to be a little bit more active? The same when it comes to EDMs, and this was actually very similar reflection. So a lot weren't doing any, but then equally a lot were doing the sort of 1 to 2. again, I think because of the outliers, there were a few who were doing a lot. When I dug down into those who were doing, more than sort of 3 to 5, the sort of 6 pluses, what I found is that they weren't necessarily sending them out to all the same people. They were really using their database and segmenting them. So they were saying, okay, I might be doing 10 emails this month, but everyone's only going to see maybe 1 or 2 because I'm going to segment my database. And I'm going to speak to my trade, my retail, my agricultural farm, sort of segment, however you want to split up your audience, and then talk to them about really relevant information. And that's kind of how they were able to send lots of emails without necessarily overburdening or sort of getting on the sort of spam trap in emails where you sort of send so many EDMs that your clients eventually just say, like, that's enough. And they sort of switch off, which obviously you don't want, because you obviously still have to send those really critical emails having to do with the day-to-day accounting business. Really interesting question in terms of, how much our firm's spending writing content every month. And unsurprisingly, about 30% aren't spending any, which sort of links back to the numbers we saw in terms of emails and social. But there are a lot who are spending significant amounts, and some who outsource, and then some who aren't sure. And I suppose a lot of what we're talking about today, especially with the Boma partnership, is how you can use the content that we have and the efficiencies of using it within our systems to really cut down on the amount of writing or even sort of paying to outsource it that you might be afraid of doing. It's fair to say that a lot of people do take GAP or Boma content and make it their own. They'll put their own digital voice on it, but it's a hell of a lot easier to edit something that someone else has written rather than writing it from scratch. So it may take you a couple of minutes to edit something rather than hours and hours to write it if you had to start from the beginning. These were really similar. So your challenges of what all accountants are facing out there. So it's time and it's content. It's, I don't have time for it. I'm so busy supporting and working with my current clients, or sort of trying to find new leads. And it's also around content, like, what do I know that's going to interest them? What will be relevant? Or I'm an accountant, I don't know that I can write this well, and there is that fear of, if I don't write it well, then I don't want to send it out. I only want to send things out that are perfect. That also can then lead into maybe questions around budget, because if you do have to outsource it, what is that going to cost? I suppose maybe engagement in the wider firm, making sure that the directors and the sort of other people within your firm are on board with sort of promotion as well, because marketing is not just something that one person in your firm does, it's something that you all do. It's every time you speak to one of your clients or one of your prospective clients, every form of communication is an opportunity for you to be marketing your services, telling them about how you can help them, or ways that you can work together. So yeah, really interesting. Hopefully what Nat will show you will give you some ideas on how we can hopefully address some of these challenges. Nat?
Awesome, Charles. I'll just make sure I've got my correct screen shared. Hopefully you guys can see that now.
Yep.
Great. So time and content is totally why we've partnered, I guess, with Boma, is how do we remove some of that complexity from the process for you guys, and how do we give you a great starting point so that you can be confident to start having these conversations with your clients, which is essentially marketing. So when we think about marketing, there's a really big opportunity on the table for you guys looking at that pre-work and the responses that you submitted, which is really exciting. So what we want to do with our marketing essentially is reduce the need for selling. And education marketing in particular is a really SEO-friendly way of doing that, and it will help drive traffic to your website and result, I guess, in more followers or leads on your social channels that you can then nurture with your marketing. So education marketing is kind of where we're at the Gap. We've got a lot of education marketing in our platform itself, and then we also publish a lot of educational marketing content within our premium library in the Boma platform as well. So it can be quite general. It's really about informing your customers about a topic not directly related to your offering, to position yourself as an expert, to build credibility and trust, and start to get that engagement so you can then have a conversation around your service offering. So education marketing is more effective than traditional marketing because it demonstrates your support and empathy for clients and prospects. And it also enables you to grow your following quite nicely, as your clients can easily share content with their friends and family. And it also focuses on giving some value before you extract it. However, we can't simply publish content willy-nilly across all of our channels without some kind of structured planning process. So we first really need to define what it is that we want to achieve. What service do we want to market and deliver? Is there a new service we want to launch? And how can we reverse engineer a plan that really helps warm up our audience to build trust on that topic, so that after various rounds of marketing, we can actually compel them to act and engage us and start to have a one-on-one conversation that leads to some kind of proposal and signing off on that service. So yeah, it's really a lot to be said. Let's kick on. So if you're thinking about how this could help you in your business, I guess it's about getting clear on a service that you wish to expand, and then utilising a marketing campaign plan to help you plan your efforts around that so that you can implement it seamlessly and then convert those engagements into hopefully delivering some kind of new service. And you can do that with the Gap if that's the way you want to do it. So at the Gap, obviously, we've got resources to help you plan effectively and help you extract leads in the business planning or accountability coaching or forecasting services. And there are plenty of other services that you can do beyond that as well. So let's roughly break down the planning process. It does start for you guys, I guess, with your own business plan. So your firm needs to be clear on what services you want to launch and how you want to support your clients on forward-facing things. And obviously these will be reflected in your why and your objectives and goals and KPIs in your plan. And then it's about breaking that down into a marketing campaign plan that speaks to the how you're going to engage your clients to have some of these conversations. So what campaigns are you going to run? What channels are you going to utilise? And obviously Boma is a fantastic way to activate your email campaigns and your social channels as well. And then it's about breaking down for whoever's going to be doing the doing in your firm, the actual activity overview, so the what, and specific actions and timing. So I'm going to quickly show you a plan example that we've got here that we provided for all attendees who came to the original webinar. So essentially, here's an example of how a campaign plan for a new, I've just realised I've got this on the other screen, don't I? How's that? Can you see that now? The beauty of having 3 screens.
Yeah, it's coming through.
Great, okay. So on this screen, you'll now be able to see the plan that we did provide attendees who came to the last webinar. So let's say, as an example, you're looking at launching or kind of relaunching your business planning service and creating a bit of a marketing plan around that. So you need to get clear on some of the information you want to actually market with so that your whole team understand what you're doing, why you're doing it. So having a clear service outlines an important starting point. Obviously, I've just grabbed this because I'm lazy from the Gap, the business planning content in the Gap. So this is the breakdown that comes from our proposal. It makes it very clear what we're facilitating, how long it takes, and what the outcome for the client's going to be. And then we've got some what's in it for me language. So really speaking to the benefits of undertaking that service as a client. And then we need to set some service goals. So how many clients do we want to convert to this new service per year, and what's that in terms of revenue? What prospects might we attract at the same time, just because we're out there marketing? And can we set some goals around those as well? And also, how many leads do we want to attract? Because obviously we want to keep filling that pipeline for future marketing and conversion after the fact. And then really just make it clear what target market we're looking at and how we actually position our offering in a small kind of paragraph to help us with our writing. And then thinking about those channels we're going to activate via this promotion strategy. And then it's about breaking it down. So with a new service, it might be that you take a 3-month campaign timeframe. And the first month really is dedicated to internal marketing and maybe a soft internal launch. So this is speaking to the wider team about what the service offering is, making sure they're on board on the value of it, the pricing, and your plans to market it. And then it might be going through your client list and actually handpicking 10 or 20 who you know would benefit from the service, updating websites and obviously social channels, adding something to your email signatures so that if people do email you about something else, they know that you've got a new service that you're actively promoting. Perhaps write a blog using GAP content, schedule some posts. So it's kind of like a paint by numbers, what you could do in utilising GAP and with the Boma platform to really make it easy, fast, save that time and utilise that existing content, which are those 2 pain points. And then month 2 is more of a hard launch and starting to gain some marketing momentum. So there's some opportunities in our GAP library that exists within the Boma platform to send some other educational marketing content out that's not speaking directly to your service offering, but that does warm you up and paint you as an expert. And perhaps you could look at some of the GAP webinars that we have in the platform you could use to warm up some leads as well. And then month 3 is really about probably running a webinar or doing something that's going to activate your current followers to act, and then following them up, utilising the content that we have in the GAP portal, which is some real value add kind of worksheets and things that you send out as part of that webinar process. It's going to make you look really good and it's going to generate some engagement and some conversations. And then taking that a bit further and sending a proposal and getting sign off for some of those services. So what your person needs in your team who's going to be actually activating the channels and doing the actions on the Boma platform is a bit of an overview of what's expected of them each week. Now, this may look like in a 3-month campaign a lot of work, but actually it's all been really simplified for you by the Boma platform, and the content's kind of ready for you to take and just add your own flavour. So it's pretty paint by numbers actually. So now what I'll do is I'll tab into our where am I? Here we go. Can you still see my screen? Just checking. All good, I'm assuming?
Yep, all good.
Great, thanks, Charles. Okay, so this is GAP platform. I'm just going to go to our bridges pages. So this is where our actual advisory services live. And I'm going to go into business planning. Now, each of these services has everything you need to market, sell and deliver. Oh, I clicked into the wrong one. Market, sell and deliver these advisory or business development or business improvement services. So one of the examples of the integration with the Boma platform, which could be one of those actions in that campaign plan, is in our marketing subfolder. We have content that's already prepared in the Boma platform for you to send out. Now, an example of this, it's available as a Word file, that one there, but it's so much easier if I just click send via Boma. It'll take me straight into the Boma platform, and it's going to be drafted a piece of content that speaks to the value and the offering and the positioning of your business planning service. So all of our content modules have this built out in the Boma platform. So it's got some short content that's going to go into your social channels, and it's got the main content around your service. Now, you might want to call it something different. If you're going to deliver the campaign, you're going to use the Boma functionality to add an intro and a call to action at the end, etc. But this is an idea of how we take the content around the service from the service itself and kind of reverse engineer the marketing of the service. And we've put it in the Boma platform just so it makes it so much easier for you guys to run with that when you're working on generating interest and promoting your new services. So with that in mind, Charles, I thought it'd be good for you to potentially talk a bit more about how you can use Boma to take it a step further.
Yeah, great. Let me just take back the sharing screen. One second. Okay, can you all see that? You can see that, Nat? Yeah. Okay, so this is the Boma dashboard. For those of you who haven't seen it before, and what we're able to do in Boma is really, you can do email, you can do social, a whole range of campaigns. What I think I'll concentrate on today is the content library, as Nat was showing, and sort of how you can take content from there and then send it out. So you can see we've got a whole range of different topics: compliance, general management strategy, HR people, sales and marketing, tax, and tech. And the idea here is that you're able to come in here and look up for any range of topics that might be useful for your clients or your prospects, and then send it out via email or social. If I go into the libraries, you can see here that we've got actually the Gap Premium library. So this is what all Gappies get in Boma and what Nat was alluding to. So there's that sort of seamless integration. So as we see coming down here, there is a huge amount of content, and it's everything from webinar invites to elements in terms of offering services. It's even webinars, sort of follow-ups, or sort of when they talk about sort of governance planning service. So there are a huge amount of content in here that you can actually then send out. And the great thing about the Gap content is that it's all structured in a way to deliver I suppose, an outcome at the end of it. So once you've chosen the piece of content, you can see here we've got an image, we've got some social content here, and then down the bottom here we've got content which can go in your email. So if we click on delivering campaign, you can choose where you're going to send it out to. So is it just an email? Is it just a social post? Or maybe you want to do both. It's email and social. So let's do email and social. So this is the name of the article. So that's what we'll call it. You can obviously change it if you want to. And if you were doing your own campaign from scratch, this would be blank and you could name it whatever made sense to you. So this element here is where you can start making some changes. So you might want to do just a small change like adding that your business name hashtag and huge accounting as our sort of our demo account. And you can see here that if I make that one change and I go through to continue, that one change will come through across all my social channels. So this section here is about making, I suppose, an easy way to make general changes across social. You can see here in Instagram, that image, that hashtag has come through. If you want to, you can actually come in here and make additions or change to this. So you might want to change to yours, call us on, and you could actually put your phone number in there as well. You can edit this in whatever way makes sense. Twitter, it's actually got a bit of an alert just because of the limits on characters. You can see here as I type, there's a little counter down the bottom. But again, if you wanted to have a hashtag, you could just, it'd be very easy just to take a couple of words out here so you can fit that in. Facebook's a little bit different. Facebook, it doesn't allow Boma to post on your behalf. So if you copy and paste using this link, it will actually take through the copy that we just showed. So that's how you could do it on social. And again, it would take out, it would come from your social accounts. It would be promoting this feature, and it would be going through to a website where they could read more about it. If you're doing this for email, however, we're going to go in and think about how we're going to send this. Do we want to send it to everyone in our base, in our audience? Do we want to filter by tags? So you will have tags in Boma. You can see I've got a whole range here. You might want to only send this to your clients, or the other way around. You might want to exclude clients because you want to promote this to new users. Or you could select contacts manually. So you may have had a meeting or a phone call with someone, and then you can actually select them manually and then just send it to those two contacts. When it comes to the email template itself, we do have ones that you can create and then use again. So previous emails, or you can use this template here. And this is basically a blank template. It has your branding on it. It has links to your social pages, has your address and unsubscribe button. But what it does have also is on the right-hand side, it's got these different layouts and formats of the content that we're going to share today. So I've come all the way down past these short layouts, which are great to add into newsletters where you've already put your own content in there. And I'm going to choose the full piece of content. So here's that full article talking about that governance planning service. So let's do some basics. Let's personalize it. So we'll add a merge tag, and then that will personalize it to everyone that it's been sent out to. And then the second thing we'll do is we'll do a sign off, and then we'll also add a button. So we're going to add a call to action button. So this might be contact us. And that contact us page might go to a web page. So it might go to your contact us page, or it might go to a page where you actually have more information on the service, or it could actually send you a direct email, or it could send you, or you could get them to make a call. So again, you could have it make a call, put your telephone number in there, and then when they click on this button from their phone, it's actually going to make a call. So lots of different ways that you can actually have the content read and then acted upon. So once you're happy with this, if you did want to change anything in here, you can. So say you thought, actually, look, I believe there's a fifth point, you wanted to add it in there, you can, it's all completely editable. If you wanted to bold little elements in there, again, it's completely up to you. This image is changeable as well. So you might decide that actually you've got an image which you really, really like for this, and you want to upload it from your own computer. You can upload it into a file manager, and then they'll all come through, or you can search our free image library. We've got over 3 million in there, which are free for you to use. So once you're happy with the email, you can preview it, just get a sense of what it looks like for a desktop reader. You can also view it on a phone, and then you can save and close. Once you've saved and closed it, you can come back in here. We've written the subject line for you, I should say, in this case, the Gap has. If you want to, again, make any changes, make it your own, you can do that. The sender details, this is the default one that you'll have when you set up your account. But if you wanted to, for one email, for one email, send it from a different person, you can, and you can send a test email either to yourself or a colleague just for a final review. So in terms of scheduling it, do you want to send it out immediately or at some time in the future? So you might say, look, on the 10th at 1:30 p.m, I want that social post and that email to be sent out. Click on it, and then it's scheduled and it's ready to go. And you see, if I come to campaigns, you can see exactly what the piece of content is, the date it's going out, and all the different channels that it's going to be sent out onto. So obviously, once you have sent out a campaign, it's always good to know how it went. So if you click on success, you can actually come down in here and see, great, how did it perform over the different channels? So these are just to our dummy Facebook accounts, but you can see exactly what engagement it got, who opened the email. You can see the click through and the open rates. So a really easy way for you to understand how a specific piece of content or a specific campaign performed. So Nat, I think that's probably a very quick reflection of sort of Boma and Gap content in Boma. There is obviously a lot of other content in there, Walters Kluwer content in particular as well from for Kiwi firms, but we can talk about that more a little bit later on. Nat, shall I hand back to you?
Yeah, that would be great. I was just thinking too, with everything that's going on at the moment, have you got my HR content in there as well? Is that correct?
Oh yeah, great point. And so
I just think what they're about to kind of provide us in the next few weeks is going to be really important as we navigate a really interesting HR period in New Zealand.
Yeah, so my HR partners are both GAP and the Boma. And so in Boma, you actually have all their content. And so there's a whole range of content in here, and it's everything from sort of evergreen content like how to onboard employees, but they also have content around changes to legislation, things to do with COVID. So mandatory vaccine, what and how does that affect your employees? So lots of different things that you can send in here. It's not just around sort of promotion of your services. A lot of it is around support, education, legislation, policy updates that you're able to provide to your clients.
So there's real cross-section of content from various specialists in there, which means that you can kind of mix it up in terms of what you're sending out to your clients, what's going to be useful for them, but also what's going to position you as an expert and help you be that support person for them. So I'll just take the controls back quickly, and hopefully I'm getting my correct screen. Can you see?
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, the portal.
Cool. So just quickly on webinars, because I think it's such a fantastic opportunity. And although you'd think after 18 months with Zoom and lockdowns, etc., that they would be losing some of their touch, they're really not. There's new ways of making them a bit more interactive. And I think in the last 18 months, we've all probably shrunk the size of our webinars and how we've actually structured them, and adding pre-work and some interaction up front, and then providing more of a structured follow-up plan to keep it short and sweet. But we've definitely found that our GAP members who are using our regular webinar content modules to engage their existing and prospective clients, that they're getting some real wins from that. And it's about keeping that, warming people up, demonstrating what you can do, speaking to your expertise, giving some value, and then keeping that conversation going. And it's a way to leverage your time. So, you could, if you've got Boma working for you well, you could get multiple attendees to that one webinar, and you can get the support of an admin person to help you prepare for the webinar, and then use the GAP content itself to deliver the webinar. So what our webinar offering looks like, these are all the different topics we currently have, and we're producing at least one a quarter at the moment. And they're all around softly positioning some value, but also how you can support your clients further on a particular topic with our GAP advisory and business improvement services. So I'm just in redefining success here. This is a webinar that's really speaking to how your clients can achieve time, mind, and financial freedom. And so if we look at the actual content in here, we have everything that's already documented for you in terms of what information is needed for the person to go and set the webinar up, schedule a webinar if you're not actually that confident using Zoom, defining your webinar plan. All of the marketing emails are ready to send by Boma, and you can just change up that image, add in the details and the registration link, and flick that out to your database. We've got a checklist for your moderator or admin person to make sure you as facilitator have everything you need to turn up and do a great job without having to manage all of the tech. A script for the moderator to make sure they introduce the webinar and yourself well. Obviously that huge PowerPoint template. I'll just show you the example here. Every webinar comes with a PowerPoint template that has inbuilt speaker notes. So you'll just come in, put your logo on here, swap out the presenter, update the content if you feel the need, and then every single slide has really clear inbuilt delivery notes for you to really just practice a couple of times, feel okay, and then turn up and deliver that session. If we go to the bottom, the main thing is that the end, once you've given some value, once you've spoken around the topic, you could then say, look, if you need some further support, we're here, these are the services we offer in this space, and that links back to the GAP or whatever content system you have to deliver some of these improvement services. And I'll just quickly show you this resource here. It's called a Sustainable Business Success Worksheet. Now, typically with a webinar, we'll have some kind of freebie that we offer that we include in our content modules for you to send to your attendees afterwards to keep that engagement going. This is something where you just select clients and goes with an email. There's a link for them to actually complete a worksheet that speaks to, in this case, summarising what success means for them, rating themselves at a 1 to 10 how they are achieving their definition of success. What minimum viable sales level do they need to meet that? Talking to their cash conversion cycle and the things that are going to help them get there on the financial freedom side. Working around some other things. What are you going to stop, start, and continue doing? And do you need some extra accountability? So when you send something like this out to an attendee list after a webinar, then those who complete it, you're automatically going to get a copy of that, which is great for your records, but also if they're not quite ready to engage, you could set a reminder to follow them up in a month and actually call them and say, hey, I really loved that worksheet you completed. It told me more about you and your business and what motivates you. And perhaps you're more interested in spending more time with your family and actually minimizing stress. And it's not so much about growth for you. So I've got some really good ideas, which we could, encapsulate in a business plan together, for example. So opportunities off a webinar just keep coming, and obviously you've got the recording, which is a beautiful asset that you can then use in your website, or you can use in your social channels to get other people to watch and start to engage with you as well after the fact. So in terms of ROI for how much prep you need to do to deliver a webinar and what you can get from that if you follow the process well, it's actually a really fantastic marketing exercise. So I'll just go back to my presentation here. So I think key for me that kind of summarizes, I guess, the synergy or the way that Boma and the Gap work together from a marketing angle is that we help you reverse engineer the call to action that's going to get you the engagement with the services you can deliver via the Gap. And so whether it's part of your ongoing marketing strategy or whether you have a specific service you want to launch, we're taking the guesswork out of how to do it via the platform and how you can get that call to action and compel those clients or even prospects to engage you, even if it's just liking or sharing something, or if it's actually sending you an email to say, hey, I'm actually quite interested in this service that you're offering. And I just want to speak briefly to the value ladder, which is one of our resources in our mindsets area in the Gap platform. But the way it works is that if we know the longer the client relationship, the higher the value and the higher the trust. Marketing gives us that opportunity to get new potential clients and existing clients further up the value ladder. So if we've got a free online resource or blog or whatever that we're using via the Boma platform, they can get some initial contact, which is free. There's no investment from them at that point, but it might draw them as a lead magnet to attend a free webinar. And so they're starting to get to feel like they've really gained some value from you. If you follow that up with one of those worksheets that gets them thinking even further about how they could work with you or what they really want from their business, then you could offer them lower cost service or something else before you move up towards that business planning service or something like that, and then beyond to potentially a niche service, depending on what the client is. So marketing gives us a chance to really get them on that value ladder. And once we work with them closer, they're going to keep moving until they become a real client advocate. So on that front, I don't know if you want to talk more about this from a marketing perspective, Charles, but for me, it's really just about getting better engagement with using the tools that you have at your disposal.
Oh, definitely. And I suppose that's the point, in terms of tools, whether that's emails, social posts or webinars, how do you turn that into engagement? And as you said, getting that clear call to action is really key, and offering a choice of yeses, I think, is really important. And look, some clients are going to be grateful that you send them, a really poignant email with tips, but you can consider services that can be provided beyond this. So some good service options, such as a sort of significant business planning services or no or low cost options as well. And that could be like a free budgeting template or a smaller, less face-to-face options like an online pre-work. They can answer 12 questions about aspects of their businesses. And this is great because it is designed to address the risk and opportunities and give them 15 minutes review to sort of provide extra feedback. So all things that can be done very easily and low risk and low input from the prospective client or client. In terms of specific engagement, as I sort of showed you in Boma, it's always good to segment your database so you can give really targeted support and also move quickly. We know that the last 18 months have been a massive roller coaster, and it's fair to say there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Look at Auckland. We don't know exactly when we're going to get out of lockdown. So think of all those businesses who don't know exactly what the next couple of months or 6 months are going to hold for them. So really good to stay connected to the mood of your clients and also the changing needs that this is going to drive as well. So that segmentation is kind of a key thing for email. Be targeted in your support and you will, or in your emails, and you will get higher engagement. And it's the same thing, with your social. It is fine to have social posts that talk to different topics. And, if you have followers, they can engage with the ones that, most impact them or are most relevant to them. I suppose in terms of one other thing to think about in terms of engagement is the timing. So if you're running webinars, we often do our webinars around sort of 1 or 2 o'clock, being that it's after lunchtime. Hopefully people may have a bit of spare time, but your clients might be very different. So if they're agricultural, then you probably don't want to do one in the morning because they'll be out on the farm. Equally, if they're retailers, then you might want to do one when they've sort of finished work around 6 o'clock. Lots of different ways that you can tweak the timing, and that also goes for the email and social posts. If you see that a social post around midday is really working well, then keep doing that. That's clearly a time when your followers are engaging on social, and that might be because it's lunchtime, they're all on their phones. I suppose just one last thing to say is that, marketing is really a tool, and it can help you better leverage your time and help you better deliver support and also leads. So, webinars in particular, or online Q&As, however you want to package them up. You don't have to necessarily always call things a webinar. Like a Q&A sort of support session could equally be, you would run it as a webinar in terms of you would invite people, you would follow up, but you might want to call it something different. If there's some of your clients, webinar sounds like a bit of a bit too much to, for them to want to commit to. So sort of a 20-minute Q&A might be, a different, it's still the same thing, but you could sort of package it slightly differently. I mean, that's the thing about marketing. I was chatting with Viv on a webinar yesterday. There are no particular rules that you have to follow in marketing. Whatever you find is working for you with your clients and your audience, that's what you should do more of. So there's no one is going to say that you have to do anything particular. Obviously, Nash and I can offer some advice, and with a fantastic content in Boma and in Gap, there are a lot of shortcuts that we can make and best practices, but ultimately you'll know what works well for your situation.
Awesome. Thanks, Charles. I think it's time for questions.
Yeah, so if you do have any questions, do let us know. Craig, I wasn't sure if you had any questions, because I know this is the first time that you've seen this particular presentation. Was there anything that stood out to you?
Thanks, Charles. No, look, I thought it was really useful. I thought the big thing that stood out for me was obviously around the time and the content. So, a lot of businesses, and especially in an SBA perspective, we wear many hats. So I think having the time to develop your own content, it's too hard. So I think that the Boma platform provides all of that, which is fantastic, and it's all really relevant to the different types of businesses and a wide range of content for that as well. But I also like from that the information around the Gap. It is all about building trust, and I think using education to promote to clients the availability of these services, and then bringing them on that journey. So kind of, as you say, not very salesy, more information sharing, and then really just turning that into a conversation starter to convert into an inquiry, and then convert that lead from there. So I really enjoyed the content and the presentation. I thought it was good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.